As a global health emergency is taking hold, America is moving forward with its crucial, once-a-decade census. In March, the Census Bureau said an employee tested positive for the new coronavirus. The worker didn't have contact with the public, but the incident is reinforcing the Bureau's need to collect information over the internet. This isn't the Bureau's only challenge as it collects surveys. The 2020 census has been on the Government Accountability Office's watch list for 3 years. Those concerns, combined with pandemic-driven impediments, could make 2020's count more difficult to execute. But the count must move forward because it is a foundational part of American governance.
The census is very important because it is the foundation of how political power is distributed in this country. And so it's important to be counted, and it's not just that people be included, but it be included where they reside so that political power can be equitably distributed or accurately distributed.
Here's how the new dynamics are reshaping 2020's count. This year, most households received a letter rather than a complete census form in the mail.
This is the first census in which there'll be a widespread option to respond over the internet.
That's because the census wanted to move toward online response. In light of the new coronavirus, the Bureau is re-emphasizing the need to respond online, or by phone or by mail, without having to meet a census taker. This is the safest way to answer the census. And that could prove crucial as the country hunkers down to increase social distance and limit the spread of the virus. Online response will limit the amount of in-person enumeration needed to count everyone, which relates to another major challenge facing 2020's census: staffing. Staffing has been an ongoing area of concern at the Census Bureau. That problem becomes most visible at the local level.
One of the things that's very important is to look at the census down at almost a granular level, a very local level. That's what's going to make or break the census.
Only about 2/3 of the country responded to the initial prompt for the 2010 census, and those numbers vary at the local level. For example, about 74% of Minnesotans responded to the census's first request, but some counties in the state had response rates below 40%. Lower response rates mean that the Census Bureau needs to send temporary workers to knock on doors and request responses in person. But the need to increase social distance will make it harder to send field workers out to track hard-to-reach populations and others who don't respond. For months, the Census Bureau struggled to recruit enough temporary workers. The GAO issued this chart in February to show how far behind the Bureau had fallen. The Census Bureau disputed those findings, saying that they effectively met their staffing goals. But the Bureau will still have to deal with falling response rates. That's because Americans in general have become less likely to answer surveys.
Each census that I've been involved with, the Bureau assumes a lower mail response rate than they received in the preceding census, in part because of just the complexity of counting people and the various living arrangements, but in part because of reduction in trust.
Which brings us to a third major challenge facing 2020's census: trust. In 2019, the Republican National Committee sent a 2020 congressional district census to a number of households. It was not an official census. The document asked about political preferences and preferred news sources, none of which are asked on the official census. The questionnaire was also much longer than the official census and asked respondents to donate money to process the document. As recently as March, the Trump campaign promoted the misleading prompt on Facebook. Facebook later removed the ads, citing the company's census interference policy. But experts say that the lingering effects of confusing documents like this could further depress response rates in the country. Census forms started arriving in mailboxes in mid-March. The Bureau must report results to Congress no later than December of 2020. Some response timetables could be shaken up as the Bureau monitors the situation and takes new guidance from public health authorities.